Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss out on critical updates from the political front lines of South Africa. Today, we need to talk about a story that has shaken the community of uMthatha to its core, and one that could become a defining moment in the Eastern Cape's political history. We're talking about the tragic deaths of innocent civilians during recent community unrest in uMthatha, and the firestorm of accountability that has followed Premier Oscar Mabuyane and the ruling ANC government. This isn't just another protest turned violent. What happened in uMthatha is being described by many activists and analysts as a chilling example of state failure to manage community tensions, failure to protect human life, and ultimately, failure to govern. Let's break down exactly what happened, what's being said on the ground, and what this could mean for the ANC in the Eastern Cape and beyond. The tragic incident occurred amid a wave of community protests in uMthatha. The anger in the streets was palpable. People were frustrated, fed up with poor service delivery, rampant unemployment, and the seemingly unending list of broken promises from government. Residents had taken to the streets to make their voices heard. But what they were met with, according to eyewitnesses and activists, was not dialogue or empathy, but brute force. Heavy-handed police tactics, tear gas, rubber bullets, and live ammunition reportedly turned a protest into a massacre. Several civilians lost their lives, people who had simply been demanding the basics: clean water, jobs, electricity, and functioning roads. Instead, they got bloodshed. Now, the question on everyone's mind is, who is responsible? All eyes have turned to Premier Oscar Mabuyane. As the head of the provincial government, he has the political and constitutional responsibility to ensure the safety and welfare of Eastern Cape citizens. But instead, his administration is being accused of negligence, silence in the face of brutality, and even complicity in authorizing or allowing disproportionate force to be used against civilians. Critics say Mabuyane's government prioritized controlling the unrest over protecting the lives of citizens. And when you look at the broader pattern in South African politics, this isn't an isolated incident. From Marikana to Mthatha, the ANC's record on managing protests has been marred by tragedy. Time and time again, we see a disturbing trend: communities rise up in frustration, and instead of addressing the root causes, the state responds with suppression. The people get bullets. The politicians offer condolences. And then nothing changes. Human rights organizations have condemned the uMthatha crackdown in the strongest terms. One local NGO monitoring police conduct issued a blistering statement, saying, and I quote, "The blood of innocent people who died in uMthatha is on the hands of those entrusted with their protection." That's a powerful indictment, not just of the police, but of the entire provincial leadership. But it doesn't stop there. Beyond the public statements, there's an emotional toll. Families are mourning loved ones who never came home. Parents have buried their children. Communities are reeling, not just from the deaths, but from the sense of betrayal. And as is often the case in South African politics, the tragedy has become a battleground for power and reputation. Oscar Mabuyane has since promised a full investigation. But let's be honest, how many times have we heard that before? From the Life Isidimeni tragedy to the July 2021 unrest, we've seen this movie again and again: government promises an inquiry, a report is commissioned, blame is dispersed, and then, radio silence. No accountability. No arrests. No justice. The people of uMthatha aren't buying the promises anymore. Community leaders, civic organizations, and youth activists are demanding real accountability and systemic change. They want more than just a commission, they want heads to roll. They want resignations. They want police officers prosecuted. They want the Premier to explain, in detail, how this could have happened under his watch. And here's the thing, this is bigger than just uMthatha. This is about a political culture that has allowed impunity to fester. It's about a government that talks about transformation but acts with the same authoritarian instincts as the regimes it once opposed. Mabuyane, who many believe has ambitions for national office within the ANC, now finds himself politically cornered. The ANC in the Eastern Cape has long been seen as one of the ruling party's strongest bases, but if this crisis deepens, it could fracture that support. And with elections looming in 2026, these kinds of incidents have real electoral consequences. Already, opposition parties like the EFF and DA are circling, calling for the Premier's resignation. They are capitalizing on public outrage and painting the ANC as out of touch, repressive, and unable to govern. Meanwhile, Jacob Zuma's MK party is gaining traction in places like the Eastern Cape, using incidents like this one to frame the ANC as a party that has lost its moral compass. Even within the ANC, some insiders are reportedly alarmed by how quickly this crisis escalated and how poorly it's been managed. So what happens next? The first thing we'll be watching is whether Mabuyane follows through on his promise for a full investigation, and whether that investigation will be independent and transparent. Will anyone actually be held accountable? Will there be arrests? Suspensions? Or will this, like so many tragedies before it, fade into political amnesia? Secondly, we'll be keeping a close eye on the community's response. Will protests continue? Will the civil society sector maintain pressure? Or will fear and fatigue silence the outrage? Lastly, and most importantly, we must consider what this means for South Africa's broader democracy. The Constitution guarantees the right to protest. It guarantees the right to life. If citizens cannot demand service delivery without fearing for their lives, then we have a crisis, not just of governance, but of the democratic soul of this country. So let's not allow uMthatha to become just another statistic. Let's name the names. Let's hold the leaders accountable. And let's make sure that the deaths of those civilians were not in vain. Thank you so much for watching. If this content moved you or informed you, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Oscar Mabuyane should resign? Should police face criminal charges? And what should the ANC do to rebuild public trust? See you next time.